I'd say there are two approaches to drafting. One was done by the Columbia Law School back when the United States government was contemplating the creation of an income tax. And they approached Columbia to do the research to lay the predicate for that. I'm told they spent a couple or 3 years researching every aspect of it, and then they started to draft. The probably most competent drafter in America during the latter half of the 20th century, certainly the most notable, was Reed Dickerson. Dickerson took a different approach. Dickerson's advice was start early. And his view was as soon as the drafter has something of value to say, it's a good idea to go ahead and commit that to paper, being alert always to the proposition that you're going to have to come back and rethink it. Dickerson's advice in recommending the start early approach was that, for starters, you're never going to have a clearer sense of what it is that you need to draft because you've got an uncomplicated sense of it before you introduce all of that complicating research. So put it down. It might not stand the test of time, but it's a good start. Dickerson also believed in what he called talk back from the draft, that the drafter and the text that the drafter produces talk to each other, communicate in ways. And I think I've felt that experience in drafting projects before. It helps to put it down in writing and then look at it a day or two later, and it provokes new thoughts. Dickerson also had a certain economy of means concept at work. If you simply plunge in and do a lot of research, the way the Columbia Law School did it when they were researching the tax law, you're probably going to research things that you don't wind up drafting on. If, on the other hand, you start drafting early, you are going to help identify gaps in your knowledge. You're going to help target your research into areas that would be the most useful to you. I've got to underline again at the end of this start early advice, you've got to be willing to go back and look at it with a fresh and a critical eye and be prepared to rewrite because it may not prove to have been your best effort. But it's a good way to get started on a drafting process and get away from the writer's block problems that can sometimes afflict all of us. Researching a drafting project does not necessarily require doing legal research. We teach a lot of drafters from around the world who come from drafting offices in parliamentary systems in what amount to now 95 or more countries that we've had attend our drafting institute. They're not all lawyers, by any means, not all lawyers. Many of them are non-lawyers. In this country, we've got many non-lawyers who do a very capable job of drafting. So when we talk about research, we're not necessarily talking about legal research. The type of research that would be helpful to a legislative drafter would be practical information about the nature of the problem. You might find that in newspaper articles, magazine articles, television broadcasts, wherever one can find it. Yes, there is another dimension. There's probably a statute somewhere out there that's causing the problem, maybe a regulation, maybe an unfavorable opinion from the Attorney General or agency counsel. If you can identify those problems and put them in front of the drafter, that's also very helpful to do. And then, of course, there's information gathering from the people who are most directly impacted by the problem. It's a good idea to send a referral of the drafter to an informed client who can talk about the bottom line issue and what their interests are. It's also useful if you can find a resource person who may have deep expertise in a particular area and be able to contribute yet another perspective, perhaps suggesting some of the possible solutions.